Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session. And this is crazy, guys. I am here for my first guest speaker episode in what's been about 9 months. And this next guest I have right here with me, we've been talking about having him on for the last, I'd say, 9 months to a year. And I've already mispronounced his name on a podcast episode in my year-end list for 2021. So my deepest apologies to this man right here.
Oh, man. No,
the one and only IRG. Did I get that right this time? Or do you pronounce the
you
dot?
got it right. I did when I first started the project, but then I was just like, no, that's not going to catch on. You know what I mean? .IRG. It's just too much of a mouthful. I was just like, just call me IRG. It's so much. I've had people say like, what, this is Urge or yo, like if you had a fan base, they're the Urgers or something. Like,
that's awesome.
It's just, I've gotten a ton of different stuff, man. Like, I don't know, just IRGs just seems to roll off the tongue. So
I would say
you got it right this time. Yeah.
I would say so.
But yeah, man,
Very
thanks
good.
for having me though, man. I'm really excited for it.
Awesome. No, I'm really excited for this too, man. I know we've been in communication forever, and I know you guys don't know the backstory of this whole thing, but I might as well share it since we're here. So we tried to get this done maybe 3 weeks ago, and you're in Philadelphia, correct? Or excuse me, Pennsylvania, correct? I'm
in Pennsylvania, but it's like I'm probably like 30 to 40 minutes away from Philly, depending on the traffic.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. But I originally am from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is Amish territory, Amish country. Yeah.
There you go. So it's really funny though, because we had this plan for about 3 weeks ago, and you unfortunately lost power. And he said you hit me up in the morning, and you lost power, and that was like, all right, so let's reschedule it. And then we tried again, and I had a basketball game that got moved because our girls and our boys teams are deep in playoff runs right now at my high school. Shout out the Andover boys and girls basketball programs. And I coach, of course, as most people on the podcast know. So we had to reschedule again. And then we just sign on, and your computer camera's not working. And so we got the workaround. We got the phone going.
Crazy.
It's all good. You're here now. And I am so excited for this one, and welcome to the show. You're the first guest speaker of 2022.
Oh man, that's so cool. Yeah, thank you very much, man. That whole power outage was a whole story in itself, which was crazy because like literally, I've never had a power outage where I looked outside at the front of my house, and there was literally a pole down that pulled like the wires. Yeah, like it was crazy, and like that was like 4:30 in the morning. And I look outside, and there's like all these lights. There's like PP&L. There's the like fire department, police cars. Like I don't know, it was crazy. And we were out of like power. Well, not power. We were out of Wi-Fi for like a week and a half, but we got power on like maybe a couple days later or something, which is crazy. But it's all good. I mean, that was one of the weeks where I was traveling, so I wasn't even. Me and my wife weren't even. I think we might have been in Florida at that time. Yeah, we were probably in Florida, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, that was a whole ordeal. And also too, it's crazy that I'm on this show now because I think I found out about you and your podcast from Johan. And and Johan, right. I know he's from Boston, but ever since I've kind of gotten to like the music game since like, I think, I started at the end of 2017. One of the very first people that I connected with was Johan on Instagram, and he wasn't even verified. I don't even think he probably had like a couple hundred followers at that time. And we just started talking, just started chatting, and I vibed with his music. I think I found him on like Discover Weekly or something on Spotify. And and we just started talking, and he actually like really mentored me a lot with like a ton of different music industry stuff, producing stuff, like mixing, just lyrical stuff. Like I would send him my stuff before I would drop it, and he would be like, "Look, have you thought about this? Do this. Think about this. You know, just." But like, ultimately, I would do what I wanted to do. But it was really beneficial getting that like counsel from him from the music perspective. You know.
Absolutely.
So I was like, when I found you, I was like, anything trusted by Johan is trusted by me. So, you know, that's kind of how I looked at it. So I was like super excited. This is probably I'm one of the more exciting things that I've been a part of. So I'm super stoked to be here.
I appreciate you, Doug. And big shout out to Johan Lennox. He's a great friend of the show. He came on in April of last year, so almost a year ago now. And same thing, kind of just found him floating through the the Massachusetts music scene. He was admittedly a little bit bigger of a name when we found him, but he really is just the salt of the earth as just a great person. Like I have, there's some people that I've interviewed, and we really connect, we vibe, we stay in touch. And then there's some that don't, and that's fine. You know, I understand how the industry kind of works, and as I've kind of navigated my way through it as a promoter, as a music podcaster, and just working in this PR space. But Johan is somebody that has stayed in touch, almost, I would say, bi-weekly. Like, we'll at least exchange a few messages in the DMs, or he sends me all his stuff unreleased as well. His debut album is coming like in a few weeks from the point where we're recording this. And yeah, his music, man, is just so unique. And I think it's something that is just so needed, and it's a breath of fresh air, I think, in this music space where there's so much of these trends that start to kind of, take shape. And not that they're bad necessarily, but it's just a nice change of pace from like the most stuff that you hear. So just as a human being, he is salt of the earth. He's one of like the best people I've met in this industry from like that standpoint. And then his music is just incredible from a sonic standpoint.
Absolutely. I think like the biggest thing he's helped me out with is not even really anything that he told me, like is like the biggest takeaway. I think it's more of like just kind of observing him as an artist. Like if you listen to his voice, I have never heard anyone that sounds like anything like him.
Agreed.
Like
Agreed.
And I'm not saying about the way he says words. I'm not saying, like, it's just like his singing voice is just, I've never heard that before. And like for me, sometimes, like, or not sometimes now, but in the past when I was first starting out, I would get kind of like subconscious, because like I also feel that same way about my voice. Like I haven't heard anyone that sounds like me. I mean, I've had like people be like, it's sort of like an Owl City type thing, sort of like a John Bellion thing, but not really. So, which makes me think that like my voice is very unique as my singing voice, but his is like what I've learned is that like he embraces that, you know what I mean? It's not like a bad thing. That's a good thing, and like that's really worked for him. And that's like what you want. Some artists spend their whole career trying to find that, and like trying to be unique. And, but some people literally just sound like other people.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of like helped me change in my mind. Like that's like a blessing, not like a bad thing, Right. So that was, I think that was like a huge thing that I learned from him.
Yeah, I think that's such a great sentiment too, and I agree that like he doesn't sound like anybody else, and that is in essence, I think, an important part of music, because you don't want to just, I mean, he doesn't. I'm not saying he's not influenced by other artists, but he doesn't wear his influences on his sleeve necessarily. Like they're not they're a little more subtle, and I think that is like something that will, he just has that type of sound that when you hear it, it. And like, okay, like you hear a song of his and like, okay, that's Johan.
Yeah.
And I in a weird way, it's funny. I do feel that way about you. I feel like your music has a type of sound. And while I love talking about Johan, and he's, again, like I said, just an amazing
Yeah.
dude, I do want to transition to you a little bit, because
No,
your
yeah,
story
absolutely.
your story is very, I think, unique in its own way as well, as his was. When he came on the show and talked about his backstory, I think your backstory is a little bit unique as well, at least unique to any artist that I've kind of come in contact with and talked to, through this platform. And so,
Right.
I'm first off, I'm going to start this segment of the podcast, and this we're going to reformat this slightly. So any old listeners or audience members from Turntable Teachers, this is going to be slightly different format. So we said IRG is going to be our little guinea pig here, and he's ready for it. So the first section, I'm going to call this the objective. And the objective is we're going to get to know a little bit of your background and your backstory. So in some of the research I've done about you, I read that you had started making music your sophomore year of college. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be. So yeah, because I went to a high school called Hempfield High School, which is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And then in 2015, when I graduated high school, I went to Millersville University of Pennsylvania to study. Yeah, it was early childhood and special education is what I first was studying. I did that for about 2 years. And so from 2015 to 2017, and I just teaching just wasn't for me. I didn't feel gifted in it. And, but I really tried though. I mean, and it's not about getting in front of people and talking. That's not the issue. It was more of just I didn't have the gift of patience for it. And also
You need a lot of patience.
Patience. And also too, sometimes with things of that nature, I can get stuck into this, my way is the way that I like to do it. And I think that people should do it. And teaching there's multiple ways that things can be done, and you have to adapt to the student. And it was really hard for me to adapt to the student. So that being said, that was just a little backstory on Millersville. And also just the school was a little too big for me. I mean, it had only 8,000 students, but that wasn't, for me, that was big. So then transitioning, I transferred from Millersville to this place called Lancaster Bible College from, at the end of 2017. Or actually, no, it was the beginning of 2017. And that was kind of a big point in my life. Me and my wife, we always make this joke that I kind of base my timetables off of the year 2018. So when anyone asks me anything regarding when did this happen, when did that happen, I'm always my brain goes back to, well, okay, this is what happened in 2018, and this is before, almost be 10,000 BC or before Christ, after Christ. It's it's
that's
really
your spot
weird.
right there is 2018.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's so strange. But yeah, so 2017 is kind of, I think, a really formative year for me of kind of where I started to find out who I was, who I wanted to be. And I think that's why I really struggled at Millersville also in that school, is because going to college and not knowing who you are makes college very difficult.
Right.
But also going to a college, for me, that was a very secular college where people were trying to fit in with each other. That also just didn't fit my personality type either. So I really struggled. And 2017, when I transferred to Lancaster Bible, I was able to kind of get in with a good group of guys that really helped me out. Had a lot of patience, a lot of grace with me. I was leaving that old lifestyle of trying to fit in and trying to be cool and and they were like, dude, you don't have to do that here. It's all good. We'll accept you and be your friend. It's all, you know what I mean? So that was huge. So with that transition, I started to find out who I was, what I wanted to pursue, and step out of my comfort zone for. And that's when I found music. And I didn't, up until that point, I never picked up an instrument, never did any, I didn't grow up around, I grew up around music because my family was very musically gifted. My brother plays the drums. My dad plays the piano, the bass, guitar, all that stuff. but I never really felt called in that direction by any means. And then I just one day went to Guitar Center, bought like spent $1,000 on equipment and just set it up and just got to work, and just YouTube videos and just learning things and networking and it kind of just, I just started every day get more and more passionate about it, and I love it, so
Yeah.
So basically giving you my life story about one little question you asked me, but
No, this is great. No, I'm glad you do it. You're making my job very easy at the moment.
I know.
So
I know.
I'm curious though. Was there like a specific? So you said you go to Guitar Center, you buy all this equipment, but was there like a specific moment when you knew that you were going to pursue music? Like when did the light bulb kind of click? Like was it as you were transferring schools? Was it like once you had gotten to Lancaster Bible College? Was it maybe like prior, or was it just kind of like this weird? I mean, is there any like sort of moment that you can recall where it like really, just hit you that you were like, all right, this is kind of what I'm meant to do, or this is something that I need to pursue?
I think the biggest thing is like as I was trying to find out who I was and what I wanted to become and where I wanted to be, like I didn't really have anything like as regarding a passion. Like I didn't have a passion for, like I like playing soccer and that was fine, but it's like I never aspired to be like a professional at that. I just played it for fun. But other than that, like I didn't have anything else that had longevity, because obviously with soccer or any type of sport, you're going to get to the point where you're like 40 years old or whatever, and you just can't do it anymore the same way that you did when you were 18. You know what I mean? Your body is not going to be able to keep, you just can't do it. So, but with music, that's your mind, that's your creativity. You could do that till you're 80 years old if you wanted to, so I kind of was thinking about the future and longevity and like, okay, I could just stay comfortable with my bubble of just playing soccer and just playing pickup and having fun. But then like when I reach that point in my life where soccer can't really be a thing anymore from me playing it, like what else will I have, from a passion side of things? So that was just, I guess kind of lit a fire under me, and it was like, okay, I got to find something that I want to be really, really good at that will, break those barriers. And just kind of coming to that realization was like, you love music, you love songwriting, and I know that like at that time I was like, I knew my voice wasn't where I wanted it to be. I knew my creativity and my beats and everything was not where I wanted it to be, but I just wanted to start anyway, even if it wasn't going to be perfect. And little by little, each song that I put out just got better and better and better and better. And even now, I still have that mentality. Like every song that I put out, all I aspire for it to be is better than the last one. I don't care if I like drop a song that's like that goes viral and it gets radio play and like millions of streams. Like as long as my only goal every time I drop something is as long as it's better than the last one, I did my job. So. And that's where it keeps that growth mentality for me.
Yeah, no, we talk a lot about in education, like growth mindset. So I love that, that sentiment. Many people have sort of, said your sound blurs between like the lines of like a lo-fi, pop, and indie music. I'm curious of, once you figured out that you wanted to pursue music, and, how did you really cultivate your sound? Like, how did you decide on how you were going to like approach music? Did you have like a specific sound or a genre in mind, or did you kind of just go with like a gut feeling?
I think for me, it was more just like experimentation to see what fit best with the tools that I was gifted with. Like obviously I don't have a voice like Adele or like Beyonce or anything like that, or like Bozzy. I just don't have that voice, and that's just not that's not the type of artist I want to be anyway, regarding the type of vocal performance that I put out. Like, that's just not what I want to do anyway. It just took a lot of experimentation. Like, honestly, I started out putting out EDM music. It was mostly EDM type stuff. That stuff's not out anymore, obviously.
We buried it. It's not.
Yep. Buried. It was because it's crazy because my first distributor was actually TuneCore, and now I'm a distro kid. But that like all that type of music, which was only like 4 or 5 songs, that was with TuneCore, and I took it down, and I'd be surprised if anyone found it. But then when I started to feel like EDM is more for like the Dua Lipa and like the Alicia Cara type stuff, and like you need powerful voices in EDM for where the industry's at now for that genre. And I don't have it. And that's fine. And then I started to transition into more of like a hip hop, which is, or actually no, I transitioned to more of like just like a traditional pop after that EDM, which was more of like I'd say similar to Maroon 5 or something like that. But that didn't really seem like me either, because it just then at that point I wasn't satisfied with that because I felt like I was trying to be other people, which really bothered me. And then I transitioned to more of like a hip hop thing, that was definitely more in my lane. Just like when the beats ride slow and like I just kind of like not really like push my voice too hard, but just kind of like get like a coffee shop vibe with that.
Yeah.
But then I just started to see myself getting more into like the trap type beats, which is not what I wanted either. Because my music is not really the type of music that gets played in a club, you know what I mean? Like and like just turn up, like that's not really the vibe that I want to give off. So then I discovered about a year and a half to 2 years ago lo-fi music, and how big that was. But what I really noticed was that people were just kind of doing lo-fi instrumental beats and not really singing over and I would see rappers over lo-fi beats, but I wouldn't really see like singers over lo-fi beats too much. Like you have your Pofu and people like that. Mm-hmm. But it just, for me, I just saw a need and I wanted to fill that need with the tools that I had. So I would say it's like more of like a lo-fi hip hop. It was the genre that I would say I'm in, and it fits well for me perfectly. Like personally, it's just I feel very comfortable, but like not into like a complacent point. More of just comfortable as like I just really feel like I'm in my pocket, you know, and people are really resonating with it, and I found my sound.
Definitely. No, and I think there is what I think struck me about your music, like early on when I was listening to it, was this: you have this very, I think, beautiful essence to your music, especially some of your more slow, almost like lo-fi ballad type of songs, versus, but then you can also, I think, play that like, or toe that line of sort of indie pop as well, that could be more commercially accessible sound as well with some of your music too. So I think you're able to kind of toe that line like both ways, right, which I think is good. I think is going to give you some more variety versus just pigeonholing yourself. And right, I think it's great that you took that time to also like reflect and try a bunch of things that worked and maybe didn't.
Yeah, no, I think found my sound probably at the end of 2020. Is kind of, if I had to put a time frame on it, is when I really found it. And now it's kind of like I recorded a bunch of songs that's in that, and each one is like, it gets better and better and better each time, and now it's kind of just go time, you know, like just to drop it. And yeah, I'm excited for it, man.
I am too, and like I said, I love your music. I definitely want to dive into a couple of your tracks and start to talk about some of them. But first, before we get into the portion that I'm going to start calling the main lesson, where we really again dive in, get to know you, what's going on with you right now as an artist, what are you pursuing, what are you passionate about. I have a little bit of a detour, and I think this one's going to be fun. I call this Pop Quiz. And so this segment is going to just be rapid fire questions. I want you to give me as brief and as of an answer as you can. but also just whatever comes to mind when I ask these questions. So
Okay, yeah, it's gonna be difficult because I like to go into detail about things I say. You can already probably tell.
I know. So I know I love it, and it's great. I would love you in my class for sure. I need you to come to some of my classes because some of my students don't like to talk.
That's
but
funny.
I think, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's funny until you're there. Put it that way. But
I got
either way. But either way, I think this will be a good challenge for you to see how you fare with some more rapid fire questions. So I'm going to start off very easy, and then we're going to get progressively harder. So the first one in the pop quiz is going to be your biggest influence for your music in your personal life. So who or what in your personal life has been the biggest influence for your music?
My wife.
Love it. Biggest artist influence for your music?
John Bellion.
Great answer. Love him. Seen him in concert twice. He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Favorite song in your discography and why?
Oh, man. New Jersey, because that's about my wife, and that's where it's all about how we met in college, pretty much.
Awesome. Favorite artist to listen to and why?
Jeremy Zucker, because he just writes sad boy anthems, sad boy bops, and my guilty pleasure is being a sad boy sometimes. So
I love it. So I know you played college soccer for a little while. What position were you, and what was the highlight of your playing career? It doesn't have to necessarily be in college. It can be throughout your entire career. But pick if there's a moment that stands out as an athlete for you, what would it be?
Yeah, I was a center defensive mid, so I sat. My position sat right in front of the center back. That's where you want to be really tall and kind of stocky to be able to deal with those types of players. And my highlight would probably be we played a team called Cairn University, which is our rivals, and we at that point did not beat them on our home turf since like 1980 or something.
Oh, wow.
And that game, we beat them, I believe it was either 3-1 or 4-1. It was 3-1, and I had the final goal. I had the third goal, and that was my only collegiate goal. So
there you go.
That's that's probably my highlight right there.
Love it. I love it. There's always one that like stands out as an athlete. Even though there's usually a few, there's always that one that usually is triumphs over the others. Biggest staple in Lancaster, Pennsylvania that someone should visit or check out. So something to do, or like if there's a staple restaurant in Lancaster to eat, like where would be if someone were to like drive through Lancaster and you were to stop and do something or eat somewhere, what would that place be?
Oh man, that is so hard to choose because oh gosh. Okay, there's this cookie place that it's pretty it has like 50K followers on Instagram. It's pretty big. It's called Taylor Chip Cookie. And they make my favorite dessert is cookies. I love cookies. Like out of anything. Cookies are my favorite. I'll eat a cookie over ice cream, over donuts, over anything. And they make the best cookies that like they're not even warm. They're just like they sit out all day. And they're like made like they're special made cookies. Like they have all these crazy ones like Oreo and just birthday cake, all these crazy different types. And like you open it up and it's always so soft. And like it's like one of those like things you see in like a video. They open it up and it's like perfect.
Yeah.
And like this gooey inside. And yeah, that is a must. Like we literally have friends in New Jersey who get them shipped from there to their house like once a month. And it's like, they ship nationwide. It's crazy. You got to try it. Taylor Chip. I want some promo rights for for a Taylor chip.
Hey, and if they're looking for a sponsor, I'm after this podcast, I'm probably going to order a box since they ship now that I know they ship nationwide. I love cookies as well. So, hey, I will buy a box and maybe they'll sponsor. All right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I have
so
two
good.
more. I have two. Oh, I am sure I love cookies. I have two more for you, and these are going to be the last one. I think is going to be a funny one. But I heard you're a Pokemon fan. Am I wrong about that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
I'm a huge nerd.
Favorite that's great. I am too, and with certain things. So I used to love Pokemon as well. But favorite Pokemon character of all time and why? It doesn't have to be the original, but if you were to pick like one Pokemon character that you love above the rest, which one would it be?
Like a human or like our actual Pokemon?
An actual
or
Pokemon.
Totodile. Totodile's my favorite. He's like the little alligator starter Pokemon that's like blue. I don't know. My favorite. I love water Pokemon. Water Pokemon is my favorite in general. Like every time I started a game, I always picked a water Pokemon. But he just looks so cool. Like he just looks so cool, and like I don't know. Like he had like just his whole design was amazing. Like yeah, Totodile.
Totodile. I love it. Squirtle fans out there are, wrestling in their sleep right now listening to this.
I know.
All right, the last one. So tell me, this is a two-part question. So the first part is, what is the best thing about being married in your opinion?
Oh man, I think the best thing is going through life with someone who has the same, like that we're on the same page with everything. We dated so well when it came to like when we had our premarital counseling, like just asking the right questions, figuring out what our likes are, what our dislikes are, talking about like children and finances and faith and all these different things. We're on the same page with everything. Now that we are married and just on those things that we spoke about before being married, it's just such a blessing, and just such a like such a privilege, to be able to go through life with someone like that. So I think that's just being able to go through life with your best friend.
That's a great answer. I think that will get you some brownie points. But this next one might knock you down a peg or two. Biggest thing you guys argue or disagree over?
Oh, okay. So I'm very much like an administrative type of person. So like when it comes to organization, I am like I don't believe in self-diagnosing yourself with anything, but for me, like I really do think I have some form of OCD. And you'll see it yourself. Like, I'm sure if you experienced that with me, just from like Google Invites and making sure that everything is organized and talking about what we're doing, it was just, I'm just super organized, and she is too, but I take it to an extreme. And that's like a lot of a disagreement points. Like, Isaac, you might need that organization in your life, but maybe I don't need that. Like I don't have to Google Invite our whole life. So that's kind of like, it's not like a bad argument or anything. It's more of just like, I'm just a quirk. It's a quirk of mine. And
it's a quirk.
It starts a lot of like, that's so annoying. Why do you do that? so it's cool.
I wasn't looking. No, it was just to be playful. I wasn't looking for like the massive thing you guys argue about. I'm sure you guys are totally fine, but but there's always those little things, right? There's like those small things, and again, it's like you love the person so much you put up with them. We all have them, right? Nobody is perfect by any stretch. But it's all
me and her are like complete opposites, which is good. Because like the things that I'm strong in, she thinks that she's weak in, and the things that she's strong in, I think I'm weak in. So it kind of like evens each other's out. So it works out perfectly that way.
Awesome. Well, IRG, congratulations. You got through the very first pop quiz on the guest speaker
Let's
episode.
go.
So I think you did great. I think your answers were spot on there. Very, very good job.
Man, thank you. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So I definitely want to transition to the main lesson, which is we got to talk about some singles here. We got to talk about some music. Like, you had a huge 2021, I thought. I mean, and of course, congratulations again on making our honor roll with your single "Sweetie,"
Oh yeah.
which featured Andrew Narvaez and Elevate. Which, again, I love that freaking song, man. It is so damn good. I just love.
Thank you.
The hook is so catchy. You could be my honeybee. Oh. Can you give me
Oh
something
yeah.
sweet? It is just, it's awesome. I love just how like glossy and just bright the instrumentation is. It's a treat. I love that song. And then the other song that you dropped very recently was "Peace of Mind" with Naomi Mae. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about these two songs and like how they were cultivated. And really the features that you had on both, how they sort of all impacted the song. So first off, we'll start with "Sweetie," and then we can move to "Peace of Mind."
Right. Yeah. So "Sweetie" was just, it's crazy. So me and my wife, we obviously met at Lancaster Bible College, but she transferred from that school that I scored that goal against, Cairn University. So she transferred from there to come to our school. And that's how we met. But she knew someone from that school that, and they actually, it's crazy, they actually went to high school together too in New Jersey. But that's Andrew. Andrew Narvaez is the guy that went to her high school in New Jersey and also went to Cairn University, and he's still there right now. So like, it was just kind of like a weird life coincidence of knowing each other, and so we had mutual connections, mutual follows. So people that I knew was like that, and all that also knew my wife was like, do you know Andrew? Like, he makes music. Like, you should work on something with him. So I just kind of like, and I always like, I don't care about the numbers. I just want to work with people that I like. I believe in their music, and it's, it's dope. So I just checked out his stuff, and I was like, dude, this guy is sick, man. Like, it's cool because around my area, like, I don't really find a lot of people that I vibe with, you know what I mean? Around my area specifically, like, it's not New York, it's not LA. Like, there's people trying to do what we're doing, but they're not doing it. They're trying to take the fast track. So with him, I just saw he was grinding, and I just believed in the sound, and I was like, dude, I'd love to have him on a track. So I got him on it. And then Elevate, which his name is Nate Proctor. I found him on Discover Weekly, bro. Like, Spotify is the best networking tool out there. All these playlists that they have for you, I've been like using I all of them to network with artists. I listen to Release Radar, Discover Weekly, New Music Friday. I listen to my wife's Discover Weekly to find artists. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always just on those and then what's nice about their platform, you listen through your laptop, you can go to their profile for the songs that you like, go and then scroll down to the bottom to their about section, find their Instagram, and go hit them up on Instagram and be like, yo, like, I was listening to this song, it's a vibe. Like, I'd love to work with you sometime in the future if you ever had time. So it's like, it was just a pure networking thing with Elevate. And I was so happy that I found him because he made the track what it was. Like, it was amazing. His feature was great. And that track kind of came up, like, the melody, I came up with the chorus first. And I think that's one of my strong suits, is really just like choruses and hooks, is like really like, for me, it's harder for me to write verses than it is for me to write hooks and choruses. So I came up with that first. And it was actually, I was listening to some instrumentation music on Spotify, and there was this guy from Japan. I think his name was like Nito or something, and he had like this guitar riff or some loop, and it kind of had a similar melody to that, but it was like different. And then I came up with the vocal melody in my head, but the beat wasn't exactly what I wanted it. So then I went to my buddy, and we worked on the song together. And he came up with the sound that I was looking for the beat, and I just put my melody over it, and that's how that came up. So the inspiration came from another song but I didn't hit up that guy because I didn't want to use that instrumental for any, I didn't want to use it because it didn't fit exactly what I was thinking in my head. So that's kind of how that came together, and I just hit them up. I was like, yo, you guys want to be a part of this? And they were like, yeah. And crazy thing about Sweetie is that there's some stuff coming in the future, a remix. So look out for that. That's coming out soon. So I'm excited for it. So there's that. Oh, and then Peace of Mind is crazy too. Peace of Mind is just I don't even know how to explain it. Like Naomi, how did I find her? Someone connected me with her, and I actually connected her with a different artist named Johnny Henninger, who was looking for female vocalists. So, cause like, that's how I see myself. I'm more of like a facilitator, a connector. Like I like to share my network with people. So if there's a need and someone's like, hey man, I'm really looking for someone like this. Do you know anyone like that? I'll try to find at least 2 or 3 people that in my network or even outside of my network that would kind of fit what they're looking for. And I kind of learned that from Johan. Johan's very much like that too. Very much like, hey, this is who I know. Let me connect you with this guy, and who would be kind of like at your level, who could help you out. Anyway, so I actually started the relationship off with Naomi by connecting her with some other producer who they've worked on crazy songs with, like, and one song that she just released is called like Way, Truth, and Life. It just got like on like a bunch of editorial playlists, like huge Christian editorial playlists. So yeah, she's like a rising artist, and she's only 7, or she just turned 18. Yeah, so
wow.
we were working on music. I'm trying to think, like when she was probably like 16 or 17 years old. So, and the voice that she has is crazy. So yeah, but like I showed her this piano song, and I was like, look, like I think you'd be perfect on this, you know? And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And I just had my part all written out, and I had the verse all written out. And that song was written like right before my wedding. Just kind of like talking about like, look, like this is for my wife, and like this is all the things that I like promised to you, you know? And whether it's good or bad, like this is like I'm not going to be a billionaire. Like that's not what I think that, I mean, making $1 billion, that's crazy. But and I mean, who knows? Maybe I could, but I mean that's not my goal. You know, my goal is not to do that. So like and that was like one line in the song. And there's other things in there like that, like I'll keep working, and I'll keep trying, and I'll never just be like complacent. I'll always try to grow as like a husband and all these things. So the song is really like a love letter to my wife, and kind of like my promises that I'm making to her about at that time our upcoming marriage, and how I wanted things to be, how I knew things were going to be, and how they are. And then what I was saying was that it was nice that Naomi was able to bring her perspective into the song as well, because of being in high school, you know, and kind of bringing the perspective of like, what is love? Like how do I navigate this point of like this time of my life as a high schooler, of like, as like a young high school girl, is like her perspective. Like, how do I navigate this topic, and what does it mean to me? Because obviously I'm not at the point where I'm getting married yet, is what she was thinking. But how can I still add to this song? And I think that she added a really good perspective, and added a lot of power to the song too. So, which I think reaches a lot of different types of audiences, and a lot of people resonate with that.
Totally. Well, I mean, both songs, man, I love so much. Huge fan of both. If you guys, anyone listening, I know you definitely go check these songs out. We'll link them in the description. They're available on Spotify, Apple, maybe SoundCloud or Tidal, wherever you guys get your music. I'm sure you'll be able to find these songs. So make sure you go run up those streams for IRG and support if you like what you're hearing. I certainly want to just pivot slightly, because I know you have, and you've said this a little bit, and I think this kind of it's interesting how you say, you know, in your background that, you know, you at first tried to get into teaching and how it didn't work. But I kind of feel now that you've almost taken that sort of idea of how you see teaching, and maybe not like using it in the classroom, but actually using it in the music industry. And I know that you have a passion
Right.
for like artist development and mentorship, and that you
Yeah.
started a management label called Leftover Society. So I just want to talk to you about that too, because I think I'm super fascinated by like how that started and kind of what your mission is as a collective, going forward with
Right.
that.
Right. So, I think that's actually kind of crazy that you say it that way, because like I never even really thought about it that way, as like the teaching didn't go to waste. Like I did learn a lot in those 2 years about teaching, about what I didn't like about it, but also like the parts that I did like about it. So maybe, yeah, I wasn't the traditional public school teacher or whatever. Yeah, that's really interesting. That's cool. I like that.
I got you, man.
But yeah, man. But it definitely, like, I do have a heart for mentorship. I have a heart for just pouring into other people. I prefer more of a one-on-one setting and really just devoting time and pouring into people, like pouring into one person over a long period of time, instead of just pouring into like 25, 30 kids over a short period of time. And I feel like it's more impactful to just really pour into one person. Or even if it's like 2 or 3 or 4 people at the same time, just for like a longer time, and really just pouring into them. So I really have a heart for that. And Leftover Society actually started off as a collective called Loa Collective. So it was really like LOA, so Leftover Artists Collective is what it started off as. And I started that with a guy named Christian Currents. Me and him made some music together, and things were great. And things are great. There's not any issues now. For me, going into it, I didn't really understand the difference between a collective and a artist development agency. At that point, I didn't understand. And that was probably like end of 2019 is when that was started, Loa Collective. And I didn't really understand the difference between those two things. And I really just wanted to like help people further their artist careers, instead of just have like a group of friends where we share our music with each other and that's it. I wanted it to be more than that. I wanted to help them get to the next level. And that's a little bit more difficult to do when it's set up in a way that you're not there to mentor them. You're there to just be their friend, and that's it. So we tried it for about 1.5 to 2 years for the collective. And it just wasn't really working out regarding, I wasn't feeling fulfilled by it. He wasn't feeling fulfilled by it. The people in the collective, we had about 8 people in the collective. They weren't feeling fulfilled about it. So we just decided to call it quits. And I actually, 2 of the artists that were in that collective was Andrew and Silas, which is Narrow Haven. They were the 2 artists that I just saw. Well, first of all, I had more of a personal relationship with them. And then also I saw that they were really hungry to get to the next level. They wanted to do that. They just needed the tools and the resources. And I was able to provide that. So it worked out perfectly. As like I don't have to chase them down to care about their own music. They are doing it whether I'm helping them or not. So that's the type of person I want to work with. And that's not putting down anybody else who was in the collective, who was leading the collective. There was like, all those people are stupid talented, like, and super committed to the aspect of music that they love. Certain members of the collective that are not a part of Leftover Society loved live production or live shows more than they did being in the studio, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's just a different aspect of music that really can take up most of your time. Like,
right.
And you don't have to be one or the other. You can be both, but some people really they were more passionate about the other one, which is totally fine. Me, I'm more passionate about in studio than I've never done a live show, and I don't want to.
Huh.
I don't see myself as a live show person. I don't ever want to go on tour. That's not I don't want to do that. I just really just want to keep putting out consistent music online and just, having people enjoy it that way. And, I never ever want it to be like, I never want to quit my 9 to 5 to go tour and do music. That's just, I never want to do that. So that's why it's just, just different interests, but
Yeah.
we're all good. We all still keep in contact every now and then, and they're still doing their thing and I'm still doing my thing.
I love that. No, I mean, hey, like some people you don't vibe with, you don't connect with. Like I had or not even that, just like you're like some people you kind of, the visions get a little bit slightly different, or just that you're passionate about other areas, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Absolutely. I think things can be
right.
Put in a perspective where it's obviously can be respectful, and you just obviously come from a place of understanding that not everybody's going to think like you, act like you, and that's totally fine. That's what makes us all different, and like that's the beauty of human beings. And then sometimes it's just an endpoint to certain things. Like I mean, I had like the way this podcast started, I had a co-host for a long time, and he was great. I wished him nothing but the best as well. But we just had different visions for where the podcast was going to go, and I decided he didn't. I decided to keep going with it, and he didn't, and that's okay. He had different interests outside of it, and that just happens. So I think that there's that's a good sentiment, I think, for people to hear, and I think what you've shown me throughout the this podcast episode, that's really glaring in my face, is how self-aware that you are. Like I think by now it seems like you understand yourself as an artist and as a person, and the direction you want to go in. And if anybody wants to jump along for that ride, that's amazing. But you are more than welcome to work with people that aren't necessarily on that wavelength. It just might not be in the capacity that you're working with people like Andrew. Right. And so I think that is in essence, just how we all go through life, like you said, even with your wife, like you guys are on the same wavelength, you're in the same direction, and that's the person that you're going to spend your life with. It just sometimes it happens that way, and it's not that anybody did anything wrong. It's just, your journey is not my journey, and that sometimes just happens that way, So, but I think your self-awareness to me is I think is very admirable, and I'm happy for you, to be honest, that you are just like you don't seem like, as you saying, like I don't really feel the need to tour, I don't want to tour, it doesn't sound like there's any sort of this pressure for you to tour. You just are, it's kind of one of those things, just like, I'm not going to do it. It is what it is. And I'm just, this is my direction, and this is the way I'm going to go. I want to work my 9 to 5, and I want to make music on the side and just see where they both go. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I love the self-awareness, man.
Yeah.
I preach that to my students a lot, like, know who you are as a person, before you start making decisions about your life, right? Really focus on, okay, what is it I want? Because I think it's crazy to me, man. And I'm not to go on this crazy tangent, but like, we ask 18 and 19-year-olds in this country what they want to do with the rest of their lives at 18 and 19 years old. And it's really hard to ask a kid that age what they want to do with the rest of their life, because they haven't really had a lot of other experiences outside, or probably not. I don't want to speak for everybody, but there's a minimal or a sort of a barrier for how many really life experiences you can have at that age. A lot of your life experiences, major ones, can happen in your 20s and 30s, and that's where you sort of start to understand, what you want to do with the rest of your life. So I have a hard time even being in the education profession, as you said, and still like in signing off or co-signing, kids just being like, yeah, like I'm going to go, give this college $50,000 and because I think I want to do this, when so many kids change or, drop out or find different interests. So I think, again, the self-awareness piece is so important.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I seriously, like, I think that's the most important thing, I think, as a human being, is sort of figuring out, like, and sort of navigating, the interests that you want and for yourself, because those interests, will always, or can change and adapt, based on, your experiences. Right. So it's just, again, it's hard to, I could go off on this for a while, but I do.
No,
have
it's
one...
okay. No, I mean, that's good. That's good. Because I mean, as a teacher, I mean, it gives me a lot of encouragement to hear you have that mentality. You know what I mean? And like, you're teaching the next generation of Americans and students who are just, going to be taking care of us when we're old. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's encouraging to hear that you're kind of instilling that mentality into them. So I appreciate that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I thank you. I just all in a day's work. No, but in all seriousness, yeah. I did have one last question for you before we get to our final segment here, which and it's really, I think you've mentioned it briefly throughout this podcast episode, and you just seem to be such a person of strong faith. And that, I think you and I, we have a lot of crossover. We both, I think, are people that like to dabble in different interests. Clearly I teach, I coach basketball, I podcast. I know you have your 9 to 5 in music. But this is, I think, a part where we differ slightly. And you seem to be such a person of strong faith. And whereas, right. I am more of I guess I would be a spiritual person, I guess you could say, but I'm not really like attached to any sort of like religion or any sort of affiliated with any sort of church or anything like that. But I know you are, and I'm very curious to hear about just like, what your faith means to you. And I know I explain a little bit. I'm not sure. Are you still working at FIM? Is that your kind of 9 to 5 at this point in your life, or is that something that you used to do?
No, so I currently work at Fellowship International Mission, which is a mission sending organization in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So what they do is they help the local church send out missionaries overseas.
Oh, wow.
What I do, my job title is Communication and Mobilization Associate. So half of my job, I do all the social media, I do all the email marketing, any type of marketing for the agency. And then the other half of my job is the mobilization, which is most people recognize that word as being the synonym would be recruiting. So they send me, that's where a lot of the traveling comes in, and they send me to a lot of Christian colleges around the country. And I go to the colleges have these things called missions conferences, where a bunch of different agencies go and talk to students who are interested in being missionaries after they graduate. So we set up a booth and we talk to students for the whole week and talk in classes. And so I've been to colleges like Liberty University down in Virginia. I've gone to there's a thing called Word of Life, which is in Florida. I've been to Moody Bible Institute, which is in Chicago, a bunch of different places. And so that's technically my 9 to 5, but it's it's a ministry for me. That's what I mean. I'm able to pour into my ministry is to these college students that I'm being able to mentor and pour into, and kind of help them find the path to ministry service. So if a lot of students get overwhelmed with, okay, I want to serve the Lord, I want to serve in ministry, but I don't know how to do it on my own. Will someone help me? So that's where I come in, and it's like, you don't have to do it alone. We want to help you. Let's figure out what you're passionate about, what's your interests, and let's see how we can use that to serve the Lord. And so that's basically what I get to do every day, which is awesome. Because it's not like a traditional teaching students how to multiply or read but it's just helping navigate their path, their way, what they're trying to do. So that's the lottery for me. And then going back to, you were talking about the faith and what that means to me. And really, Christianity, I'm a Christian. And I don't see that. It's not really a religion to me. It's a relationship. I believe that Jesus Christ walked this earth and he lived the perfect life and he died on the cross for our sins. And I believe that he died on the cross for my sins, for your sins, for everyone's sins. And because of that, we have salvation. So through him, we can get to the Father and we can get into heaven if we believe in him and we build a relationship with Christ. And it's not by what we do. It's not through works. It's not through if I do a bunch of good deeds, I can get into heaven. It's just by understanding that I'm a sinner and that I repent and that I love the Lord and I just want to serve him with my life. And with those basic things, that's where the relationship comes in with Jesus Christ. So it's definitely a lot to take in. I'm not a theologian and I'm not like a Bible scholar by any means. I'm still very young. I'm only 24 years old and I'm still learning. I'm trying to read the Bible every day and learn about what it actually says in there so that when people ask me questions, I have the right answers to give them. Mm-hmm. And I will never, ever have all the answers. But all I do know is that I have the faith like a child where I just believe and I know that I don't have all the answers and the Lord doesn't expect me to have all the answers, but he does ask me to have faith, and I just have strong faith.
That's an awesome answer. I obviously can appreciate that a lot. Just coming from your perspective and Jordan, just kind of your belief system and sort of how you want to live your life and impact others and also the mark that you not only want to leave on this earth, but also through that faith and sort of, I think the commonality between, all religion, regardless of what you practice or what you believe in, is that I do believe this in a sense where, we all need to believe in some higher power or some being that's beyond ourselves. I don't think you can go through life thinking that this is it or that we're here, that we're here by chance or that we're here, by what, what got us here. I think, I'm not a Christian. I'm not really, I'm not affiliated with any sort of religion, per se, but I am of the belief that there is something out there. There has to be a greater being or power, that really gives us purpose, for why we are here. So, I think that having that belief system, can help you really obviously navigate through your life and understand and how to make sense of things that maybe sometimes don't make enough sense. I'm curious, just this last piece of this too, is there any sort of overlap with your faith and music? Is there anything that you think there is a connective there? Does it maybe help you get in touch with sort of an emotional side for your writing portion of music, or maybe an aesthetic? I'm just curious if there's any overlap at all or any sort of connection between the two.
So I'm definitely not a gospel artist. I'm not a Chris Tomlin or a Michael W. Smith or anything, or Hillsong. I'm not like that at all.
Right.
But my Christianity does affect my music from what I talk about and also how I talk about it. I personally don't curse. I personally also don't talk about drugs or alcohol or sex in my music. That's how my faith specifically affects my music, as the songwriting and the instrumentation and everything. But I think my faith more so impacts who I am in the industry. And I hate talking about this because it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. And I think that you can see where my heart is when I'm talking about it. But I would like to think that people, when they talk to me, that they see that something is different. and not from that like, oh, he's unique or he has like a weird aesthetic that's different. That it's not about that. It's more of like, I aspire to be a light in a very dark industry to other people. And I like to do that. That's through my faith. It's not because of me who I am, because I'm like I'm a sinful person. I struggle with anger. I struggle with impatience. I struggle with wanting things my own way, and that's the sinful part of me. But my faith and the Holy Spirit in me, because I've been born again, because I've been saved, like it allows me to have the fruit of the Holy Spirit, which is like self-control and humility, and allows me to because there's a lot of situations where like I could ruin relationships if I respond a certain way that I naturally want to do that. Or like if I feel like someone owes me money for something and like I want to ruin a relationship over $50, you know what I mean? Or like things like that, like it's just little things where it affects the way I interact with other people, and they would expect me to respond a certain way because that's how other people have or probably 99 to 98% of people have responded. But because I don't respond that way, they're like, wait, whoa, this is different. I've never experienced this before. Someone that responds that way. So that is, I think that would be the best explanation of how it affects music in my life in general, not just specifically the songs.
I think that's an amazing answer. And I love what you said throughout that whole thing, just about like how, your actions, I think, have consequences. I think that's just a great lesson for anybody to understand and know. And I think sometimes we get caught up in, these emotional sides of things, that, if we were actually thinking of things from more of a, we had a better mental state in some of these situations, that maybe we would act differently and we'd have a better result for some of them. And I think that that in essence what you're saying, I think, makes a lot of sense. And it's a sort of this is almost moral and value. We all have our morals and values and sort of that code that we live by. And I think that is a really important thing to keep in mind, of like how our actions like can actually impact others, and then in turn like how it impacts ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I definitely, I think for you, I love it because, you don't in your music ever come off preachy. It definitely is not gospel music, and that's not, and I, not that there's anything wrong with gospel music. Actually, it's funny. I sometimes like the gospel aesthetic, but you typically don't have that. But I think you have a sound that is very accessible. I think you have a message that is very, I think, pure, honest. And I think that is what drew me to your music right off the bat, was that I could feel that it's palpable. And I hope that if anybody wasn't familiar with your music before this episode and they get familiar with you now, that they will feel that as well, not only just in this episode, but in the actual music as well. Because I think not only out of some of the amazing sentiments you've said throughout this episode, and that I can feel them, and I think hopefully people can feel them as they're listening, I think it's 10 times more palpable in the music. And I think this kind of also gives some context to that as well. So I just want to give you major credit and props to you, because I think you are kind of on a path and journey that is made for you. You seem so comfortable and confident in that. And I think it really reflects within the music and just who you are as a person, and how you sort of, approach things. And of course, just how I think personable you were just on this episode with somebody that, you don't know super well. So I just want to commend you for that. And I loved this episode, just really talking to you about some of these deeper topics. And that's really, again, that's really the point of, this platform, and particularly our guest speaker, series. It's about the music, but it's not about the music. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
right. Yeah.
I got
you.
Yeah. So,
it's deeper than that. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it absolutely is. And if anybody tries to tell you otherwise, they're, it's just, it can't be that surface level. It just can't be. There's got to be more to it than
Exactly.
just,
No. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We should be questioning why we're putting out the music in the first place. So
Right.
that's
Right.
exactly it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, IRG, this was a phenomenal episode. You're not quite off the hook yet. I have my final segment. It's just one question. Don't worry. You've been great. I know I've been putting this poor guy through the ringer, but he has come out on the other side, and you have been great. I've taken you through long form questions. I've taken you through rapid fire questions. This is the favorite question. And most audience members that have been a fan of the Turntable Teachers for a number of years, you know what's coming. We call this the dream song scenario, and it's going to be reformatted as the open response, because this is just, you get any sort of answer you want with this. So I will structure a dream song. You get to make a dream song with any artists and producers in the entire world, dead or alive. And so the choices you get are this. You get one producer, or I sometimes allow for two. Like sometimes I've said one producer, and then I get like, oh, well, I really want a melody from this producer, and I want like a drum progression from another. So if you want two producers, that's okay. And you get one person to do the hook, you get a verse, and you get two guest verses. So in total, 1 to 2 producers and 3 artists on a dream song that would be IRGs. So again, any artists and producers, dead or alive, take all the time you need. The floor is yours.
And I would also be on this track too.
Absolutely. It would be IRG featuring 3 artists on that track.
Okay. Wow.
So if you you're kind of dynamite at hooks, so if you want the hook and you want 3 guest verses, that's fine too.
Gotcha. Let me think here. Oh, this is crazy. I would really love for my song to be produced by John Bellion. His production is crazy. Yeah, I would love for him to be a producer on it. And then I would love to have on the track as a feature Frank Sinatra. Or actually, no. I'd like Frank Sinatra on as the hook, like as the chorus. And then I would want to be on the feature, and then I get to choose 2 more, right?
2 more,
yeah,
yes.
And then 2 more. So then, yeah, so Frank Sinatra would be the hook. I'd be a feature. Man. This is so tough. Okay, and then probably Lionel Richie. Oh, man. This is so tough, man, because there's so many good artists out there. Yeah, I guess, yeah, Lionel Richie, and then probably I'd say Michael Bublé.
Ooh. Yeah, this is by far like the question that people not only have fun with the most, but also are like, it drives them crazy because like, I can have anybody, like that's too much. Like I can't have that much choice.
It's just I'm just trying to think of like the dream song regarding voices. And for me, I like to work with people who have powerful voices. But so Frank Sinatra has a very powerful voice, and I think that he's really, really good with catchy hooks and melodies. And then Lionel Richie also has a powerful voice, but he's kind of similar to me in like he can also kind of get like a softer tone, which is more like melodic and relatable, which is like kind of what I have. So it doesn't make me seem like the odd one out. And then Michael Bublé, he kind of sides more with like the Frank Sinatra type of vibe, which doesn't make Frank stand like the odd one out. So then it's kind of like even playing field, and we're merging 4 different types of things together, and then having like John Bellion. John Bellion's like an old soul that can adapt to like 80s, 90s, early 2000s music. So like if it was like an 80s type song with his production, with all of our voices, I think that would be the perfect song.
I completely agree, and I think John being behind the boards and producing it would like modernize it in that sense, where it would be like applicable and accessible today. Right, exactly. So
it'd be amazing. It'd be so good.
I would love it. I mean, I got a Frank Sinatra here. Hold on real quick. This album,
dude, I have that one too.
Yeah?
Hold on.
No way. Are we gonna both put up Frank Sinatra albums right now?
Let's go.
Oh, let's go. That's amazing. I love it. Wow.
That's so crazy.
Frank Sinatra vinyl
Let's
twins.
Go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I love it. What a way to end this. This is great. Frank Sinatra to finish it off. And I'm a huge John Bellion fan. Like huge. Real quick, I found out about him in college when he had like 800, and I was using Twitter at the time. Like Instagram wasn't really a thing. It was, but it was just kind of starting out. When John Bellion had like 700 or 800 Twitter followers, and the only project out he had at the time was Translations Through Speakers. And I played that shit in college like crazy my freshman year. And I've been hooked on him ever since. And just to see his ascension since then is just amazing to me. I'm absolutely...
Dude, that's surreal.
Yeah.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, I've seen him in Philadelphia at the Met. And he was doing was John Travolta the one that he was going Glory Sound Prep?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah, I saw that one, which was amazing. I mean, his live performances are like no other.
And
so good.
And what's amazing about his live performances is that there's live instrumentation, and they'll even freestyle the ends of the songs. Like they're always way longer drawn out than like the actual song itself. Like they'll play like a totally like different ending to some of the songs. And I've seen him in two settings. I've seen him at I know you're not familiar with Boston probably too much, but there's a very small venue called the Paradise Rock Club, which is right outside Boston University, which a lot of artists play. I mean, I've seen Logic there. I've seen Big Crit there. I've seen Earth Gang there. Like, there definitely are a lot of artists that go through that venue, but it's not huge. It's like more of a clubbish setting. And then I've also seen him at the Rockland Trust Pavilion, which is literally an outdoor amphitheater. I saw him about the summer before the pandemic, and that was the show where I was like, and that was for his last album, Glory Sound Prep, and that show, it's right on the seaport, right on the water, in this amphitheater, and I swear on my life there was not a seat that didn't have a person in front of it. And I was about to say there wasn't a seat that didn't have a butt in it, but everyone was friggin' standing, and everyone it was just like this. It was this synergy that I can't even describe that he was able to create, and like everyone was on the same wavelength, the same page that night, and he just there's this genuine nature that he, and sort of vibe that he gives out that it's just hard to explain. You just have to feel it. And I've been infatuated.
It's almost
with
like
music.
a 21 Pilots fan base vibe.
Yeah, very much so. Oh, that's wild. So everybody, this was a phenomenal, not only a phenomenal episode, but the fact that we both had the same Ultimate Sinatra vinyls is just hysterical. So I love it, man. So great. You can't make it up. You can't beat it. IRG, man, everybody. This was such a great episode. Great way to kick off our 2022 guest speaker series. Thank you so much for being here, man. Plug away. Let everybody know where they can follow you, socials and website, whatever you got. Take the last 30 seconds and plug away.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was really, really cool. It's honestly probably my favorite interview that I've been on so far. So I love it. I feel like you and I really connected a lot. And it was just, I'm excited to see where, this friendship continues to go. And hopefully in the future you can have me back when you blow up, you know what I mean? So, but, no, and kind of just, for my music, you can search me up on any music streaming platform. I don't think there's any that I'm not on, and it's, just .irg. And for any social media, it's just IRG Music is my handle. So I'd be very surprised if there was people that couldn't find me on a social media platform. I might not be active on every single platform, but I am active on most, and I know that I have a profile claim for all of them. So,
There you go.
so yeah, that's where you guys can find me.
Awesome.
And also, one thing I want to say.
Go ahead.
I love when people hit me up on Instagram and it's like, and just want to have a conversation. So if there's anyone out there that's like, oh, like he won't talk to me or whatever, like I'm at the point where, you know, I am accessible. So people can send me a message and I'd be totally free and down to have a conversation and talk. So that's not a problem.
And I can certainly attest to that because we've had many conversations. So he is for sure accessible, no doubt about that. And if you're a fan of IRG and you're just coming on to us for the first time, you can follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram, TikTok. Hit up our website, www.turntableteachers.com. We've got all the latest episodes for the podcast, blog posts, articles. There's even some merch up there for you guys if you want to check that out. And as well, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Once again, IRG, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, man. This was such a great episode. I really appreciate you. And I also look forward to seeing what you have in the future, man. And like, we are here to support you for sure going forward.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, man. And Mike, it was awesome.
I'm glad to hear it, man. I'm glad to hear it, and I'm so glad we finally got it done. So this was
yeah, man.
It was
cool.
It was
appreciate it.
It was totally worth the wait.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And some of the technical difficulties.
Oh yeah, that was frustrating.
We got through it though. We got through it, but anyway,
we made it through.
We made it through. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode though. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening, and yeah, we'll see you next week next time for another episode. I am Mike, this is IRG with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turn,